Hello team and welcome back to another Line Warcast. This is your map today in a 1v1 between T in blue and Shin Yellow Waffle, also known as Cryptosporinium in red. And this is the final cast of 2023. This is from the upper bracket of the T2 2023 tournament that's going on in Line War right now. If you're wondering why this isn't the grand final, it's because when I recorded this video, the grand final has not been played yet. And it sounds like it'll probably be played sometime in the new year. I won't spoil who is playing in the grand final. You can go see the most recent videos, or there's a link in the description for the bracket. Of course, there's massive spoilers in there. So check it out if you're interested in what's going on. Like I said, grand finals casts in the new year. Crypto's going for a city immediately in the bottom right after building these 2 industry and then 2 barracks on the mainland. Usually players who pick the bottom corners, or like the corners in general of the map, it's not the best thing, it's not the most conventional way to go about it. You generally want to control the center of the map. So let's see how Crypto spins this game. I mean, the city pre-built is a kind of big deal, so red should have an economic advantage. And then T up in the north building 3 factories, a barracks, building commandos, with a town and an industry. The commandos for blue are going to head over to the left side of the map. We can see, like, top down, this is what the map is looking like. Energy wise, there's a water territory that Crypto has with a refinery on it. And then T, of course, starts with this refinery on the land tile. And for a second refinery for blue, probably one of these over to the left, unless T is going to build a dock and then take this territory. Because right now it's tanks out of this factory. I suspect that these 2 other back factories are also going to make tanks. And over time, with enough tank numbers, blue is going to need a second refinery to keep those tanks moving, because they are very energy dependent. Airport in the super safe spot for Crypto on this little island in the bottom right. No real way that blue's ever going to be able to destroy this airport, because it would imply that blue has a dock over here in this territory. And this is not the most attractive piece of water to build a dock. There's really only these 2 territories to cap. And until we get those Pac-Man style maps where T could build a dock here and then, you know, sail to the north of the map and then pop out all the way down here and attack, which is going to change the game entirely if and when that happens. In this game, bottom right airport, my bet, I bet it all. Everything I ever cared about, that this airport lives to see the end of the game. Crypto's building a factory on the mainland. We'll probably see the rest of Red's production be built on this mainland, because clearly this is where the big fight is going to happen, in the center of the map. And for blue, if T can get over here and then cut off red from expanding and totally box red into this bottom right corner, it'll be very difficult for Crypto to win the game, because blue will just expand, take the rest of the map, build a bunch of eco, and then just overrun that way. Crypto's got 1 SAM, or rather T's got 1 SAM already completed, 2 more on the way after building these 3 tanks. And tanks here for blue, pretty decent call, I think. Tanks do very well in open fields. That is where they are their best. And this is in general a very open land map. There's some forest and mountain range to the left of the map, but that's not going to be a big deal in the mid game, because the fight is going to happen here, and then it's just a bunch of open fields for the tanks to go nuts. As mentioned, it's going to be the second refinery, I think, for blue. That's going to be an interesting thing, how T's going to deal with that. And eco-wise, 517 for blue, 564 for red. Bolstered by that city start. And now a port for Crypto. If we take a look at red's vision, they cannot see blue. Same would be for blue. Blue's not seeing where red is. They're about to see each other. And it's going to be an artillery and infantry army for red against a tank and SAM army predominantly for blue. Crypto's building helicopters out of the airport, and we see that T already has 3 SAMs, so over time, the amount of blue SAMs that show up in this field is going to make it very difficult for the red helicopters to get much done. And if we, I guess I can't press tab. Usually you can press tab and then the airport ranges will show up. I wonder how far a commando drop for red can go. It might be able to go over here and then get by whatever blockade blue decides to put in this choke point. If T decides to actually do that. T has a capping barracks to the top left. Super strong, gonna cap all of this territory. Entirely uncontested, it looks like. And then T also has another barracks, a capping barracks on the top right, that'll funnel units down this lane towards Crypto's base. First helicopter is done. First contact is imminent. And in the little downtime here, hope you all have a wonderful 2024. Thank you for the support in 2023. It means a lot. Whenever you comment on the videos, just watch them in general, subbing to the channel. Of course, it all helps the channel grow. And very excited for what 2024 brings for Line War. This year we saw team games, free-for-all, pop up as a new game mode, and that got a lot of folks into the game. And AI, extremely exciting. So that more folks can get into this game. I think it's underrated. I'm very biased. And I've said it before, and I will say it again. It's a wonderful little game. Barracks on the right-hand side for Crypto, which is going to counteract this barracks that T's put down. And I think this is probably where the helicopters might be able to find some use. It'll be interesting to see what Crypto's plan is with the helicopters, because I really think with enough SAMs up here, it's going to be hard to get anything done with them. And T continues to build SAMs, mixing it up between SAMs and tanks, and blue is very cognizant of the fact that there is only one refinery. Eco-wise, 682 for red, 679 for blue. And T also has the advantage that blue's the only one to the left-hand side of the map, and once this commando caps this territory, I suspect that blue will actually put down another barracks there. So here's the first meaningful battle of the game. There's no SAMs here yet for T. So the one helicopter does a little bit of damage. The second helicopter is showing up just now. And these tanks, this is where they thrive in the fight. You can see a lot of destroyed red infantry here. But tanks are pretty expensive, so T's gonna have to be a little bit careful not to lose all the tanks, and here comes this backup command from T. And it looks pretty infantry heavy. If you're blue looking at this army, it's definitely an infantry heavy army, and we're seeing some artillery pieces get mixed in for T. Artillery, of course, being very good against the infantry as long as there's nothing attacking the artillery pieces directly. And the mobility of the tanks is their greatest strength, really, I think, when it comes down to it. Right now, T's just content to keep Crypto boxed in. Crypto's actually building an airport over here and a forward barracks. This airport is a little bit exposed, but T doesn't see it yet. And I mean exposed just because the rush distance from tanks here to this airport really isn't all that far. I suppose if Crypto sends all the helicopters up to the north, it would help defend it. And we're seeing the most rare thing in Line War. We rarely ever see it, the inter-airbase transportation command. So there are infantry in this airport, or in this transport jet is going to land the infantry over at this airport. And not even kidding, I think this is definitely the first time I've ever seen it in like a competitive 1v1 game. And I don't even think I've seen it in team games most of the time. Inter-airbase transportation. So tanks do very well in open fields, but they don't do very well in open fields if they're the only units fighting and there's overwhelming numbers from the other side. I mean, it's just like most RTS. Usually the one with more stuff will win the fight. This is a very expensive fight for blue, I believe. And Crypto's going to pile on more pressure by building a forward barracks. And 2 helicopters trimming down how many blue infantry are actually going to be able to push towards the airport. I can't imagine that Crypto builds any more than 1 transport plane to move all those infantry starting in the bottom right island to the main fight. It's 4 infantry at a time that get transported, I believe. And this is looking pretty good for red. Crypto's not really boxed in on the left-hand side. This is very good for T. And if we go top down, blue definitely with more map presence, but it's such a huge army for red here. There might even be a moment where T will need to maybe consider digging in at the forest or some sort of defensive posture. Eco-wise, 809 for blue. And 7092 for red. Which at this point of the game is pretty much identical. T's going to build another barracks to contribute to the fight, which makes a lot of sense. Crypto's now on 6 barracks, 2 factory. Against 5 factory, 2 barracks for blue. And it's all helicopters from Crypto. Crypto also only has this 1 refinery in the water. So red's going to have to start looking at building a 2nd refinery as well. I mean, T's a little bit okay now after losing all of those tanks because there's not that many energy producing units. And it seems like blue's starting to mix in more artillery pieces and SAMs instead of the energy hungry tanks. Three SAMs, relatively decent number, but against 6 helicopters, if the helicopters were to attack the SAMs all at the same time, the helicopters would definitely win that fight. And to T's credit, blue's kind of stopped. I mean, it's thinned out the infantry numbers a decent amount, so it's only a big arty blob for red. If blue could magically have a bunch of tanks, if the tanks can drive and get on top of the artillery, tanks do very well in that situation. But of course, this is a tough situation for blue. This is a scary push. T's also probably losing on the right-hand side as it is. But T's added 2 factories and a barracks as well. So blue's got more pushing power on the right-hand side than red does, but it's the helicopter count that continues to grow for Crypto. And a helicopter swarm can just win the game. So can an arty blob, which this is starting to get to blobbing levels of artillery. And this is all of a sudden looking very difficult for T. And Crypto's even going to be able to break out on the left-hand side. Eco-wise, 909 for blue and 894 for red. T still capping very effectively on the left-hand side, this one barracks and all the infantry that it was able to create to go to the left-hand side. Super effective. And here comes the dig-in from blue. But now I think it's just a question of Crypto being able to break out to the left-hand side and start capping all this territory back. And then, I think red just wins on eco. Very interesting game, and you know what, actually, I take it all back. I think the reason red's winning here is because of the inter-airbase transportation mechanic. I think that's it. I think Crypto actually just figured out the game. The good thing for T is that digging in this forest will buy a bunch of time. The bad thing for T is that entrenchment AI is super scuffed in a lot of ways when it's close to producers, because this tank, for example, just pushed this artillery piece out of its entrenched position, and this infantry might actually do the same for one of these two units. And then you see this artillery piece does like a 360 and it's still trying to get back into the entrenchment. If and when that's ever fixed, entrenchments become the best thing in the game. It's not even close. 914 income for red and 999 for blue. So T is still ahead on the money, but the problem is if crypto starts capping back all of these territories with any pace, then not only does red make more economy, but it eats into blue's economy. And so far, red is winning on both fronts. This is game 1 of the series between these two players, and if you want to go watch the rest of the replays, they are in the Line War Discord in the match replays channel. Actually, I believe it's the tournament replays channel for this one, specifically. But also just join the Line War Discord if you're interested in learning more about the game. I say it at the end of every video. You can come talk strategy, ask questions. T's gonna lose this factory for sure. And probably the refinery. Now that these infantry are in the forest, infantry get a fighting bonus in the forest. They get attack bonuses and also, I think, defense bonuses. And if T would like to stop this, I think blue would have to back up all the way to here and start digging in, but it's already a losing situation. If you dig in, of course, like the logic or whatever would say that all those units that are sitting in entrenchments, they're not actually getting you anything. They're not capping territory, and they're not making you more money. He, of course, knows this. It's just a very tough situation. It's a very strong push from crypto. And eco-wise, 1029 for blue, 964 for red. It was almost like a pseudo rush from crypto. I think like I've bet this super caught T off guard. This swung very quickly, and again, it's just the inter-airbase transportation mechanic. It's just it's overpowered, really. I think we need to start having that conversation. It's just too OP. It needs to be looked at. 2 SAMs are going to chip away at the helicopters, but there's nothing to stop this land army. And now crypto's going to use this transport plane to start landing commandos in the back, which is really the perfect spot to get towards this town. Crypto doesn't actually see that this town exists, but at this point of the game, probably makes a lot of sense for it to exist. Good thing for T is starting to form an army on the right-hand side. It's really just the pesky helicopters for red that are making it so T can't push all the way to the airport. And on the left-hand side of the map, crypto's starting to form an army. Love this factory from T, especially with this mountain range here. This could be a very natural defensive position for blue to get dug in. $1081 income for red, $1059 now for blue. Which I suspect is mostly these territories changing hands. And let's see where their commandos go. My bet is the town. Potentially the town. Or just capping right in T's face. Okay, good pickup. That was still the most effective transport plane of all time. Because it moved whatever this was amount of infantry over to the mainland. And now it's going to be 2 SAMs against 3 helicopters, about to be 5 helicopters. The helicopters will certainly win this fight. And we see 1 helicopter going down. It's a tough situation, of course, on all fronts, I think, for T, but with these 2 factories, it's not like blue can just pump out a bunch of SAMs, because blue needs to build artillery as well to fight the ground army and for pushing power. And that's why this is such a tough position. Okay, T's got another barracks down here. Crypto building a town. T is also building some industry in the north. And T's making 230 now, whatever, 240 per minute at 1059 total income. And Crypto close to that 300 per minute marker at 1151 total income. The push finally thins in the center. The defender's advantage for T is quite strong here. I think also this position is just easier to defend rather than this choke point, because all these blue units have more of a funnel to be able to enter the fight, as opposed to here where they're all kind of bunched up behind each other. I like this idea from Crypto to just dig in at the choke point, but with only one artillery piece, obviously that's not going to work for too long. I think this is a very understated play that Crypto just target commanded both these buildings, which I think is super the play to not let blue start creating more of like a bigger army over here. And if it was difficult for T to come back, it's now, I think, impossible. When it really comes down to it. This one commando is still running around, causing grief. This is T's vision. The commandos have that stealth characteristic. As the commando gets closer to the farm, it will be spotted. But if it just parks out right here, invisible. Good reaction time from T, seeing these helicopters go across this little lake. And I believe 5 SAMs here will probably do it. It's okay, because the helicopters spent some of their rockets on the barracks. Super expensive from Crypto there to lose all but one helicopter. But big picture wise, it's not too bad. T's at 1100 income, 1253 for Crypto. But still, the momentum is just so strong here. Somehow this factory stayed alive. That's actually very good for T. But it's just too many red infantry. It's 2 barracks and now going to be another factory that pushes to the left, and a transfer of 4 helicopters down here. Only 1 SAM for blue. And it's been helicopters all game for red. I wonder if Crypto's going to build another transport plane for some of these commandos. I think win conditions, like, for Crypto, probably just win on the left-hand side, and as long as that goes well, and Crypto doesn't give up, you know, the entire center somehow, and the entire right-hand side, then red has this locked up. There's no rocket for blue, or any other, like, kind of game-changing unit. I don't think a rocket would be a good play. It's super expensive, and also with the 2 separate pushes, it's kind of hard to know where to target the rocket and how to get the most value from it. Very interesting game. There's no reason why T's going to give up easily here, because it is a tournament game, and maybe this right-hand side turns around. The center's looking kind of okay. The one problem for blue is as they enter the open field, their defender's advantage kind of dissipates. And it's a lot of ground to push through. And there's no There's nothing that blue has over here that's going to be able to stop this. This is just, over time, red is going to be eating so much eco. 1433 income for red, 1075 for blue. The commando for red was obviously cleaned up at some point. And now another big thing that can happen is all these red helicopters might actually go back to the center, or even hop across over here. I do enjoy like how there's multiple fronts in most games of Line War. And very cool map. I know these maps were picked, they were predetermined seeds for the tournament. So all the players knew what they had to, you know, the maps that they had to play on. They could theorize a little bit, maybe strat beforehand. Then huge play by the helicopters. Top down, red super has more territory at this point. And T's money is drying up a little bit. 1075 total income, making 89 a minute. Crypto at 300 a minute, 1495 total income. Both players putting down a few more barracks. But for blue, it's impossible to have SAM coverage over here. And this is enough helicopters for Crypto that they're going to be able to destroy any infantry that tries to push. I mean, here comes a factory for T building SAMs, which is the best possible response to that situation, I think. Since blue doesn't have an airport or anything, there's no interceptor play that can happen. This is a relatively decent fight for Crypto. I love this play from the SAMs from T to put pressure on the town, because it also means that these infantry can't get in the fight. They'll have to focus on the SAMs a little bit. SAMs were changed in the latest patch so they don't kite infantry anymore, which is super good because that was unbelievable. The feeling of watching your infantry chase after SAMs and just get mowed down. Also good fight for T in the top right. This infantry is a little bit scary if Crypto were to just target command that factory. But everywhere else on the map, it's just looking so good for red. And a capping barracks on the left-hand side now, and the helicopters go for that strike on the town. If you're wondering what the faint white lines are, it's the lines that are made when a unit responds to a command. You'll see that on all these different units, so you know where they're going. This infantry, of course, going to like this little attack dot, and now this little attack dot. And if you're ever wondering how to turn that off in a replay, I believe it's V. I could try it. Is it V? Yeah, it's V. There you go. That's your tidbit of knowledge for the day. 1575 income for Crypto. That's actually staying the same, interestingly enough. Maybe 970 for T, now officially making negative money per minute. And the helicopters we can hear are still going nuts somewhere. Or just one helicopter. It's actually super smart by Crypto to go after eco, I think, at this point. Like when your opponent's in the negative, not like Crypto would know that necessarily, but it's gotta hurt like extra bad because eventually the producers will stop making units when they can't afford them. And well played. Well played both. It was a best of 3 series. Again, you can go watch the replays in the Discord, in the tournament replays channel, if you'd like to watch them yourselves, or check out the bracket, which is in the description. Here's some graphs. GG. And again, happy 2024. Happy holidays to folks that are celebrating. And we'll see you in 2024. Very excited for it. AI soon for Line War. The grand finals, I'll put those up as soon as the games are played. Again, like I said, I think it'll be early next year. And if by the time this video comes out, they have played the grand finals, my apologies. We'll do them next. But again, thanks for the support. I hope you have a wonderful night, day, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. Enjoy. Thanks again, folks. Peace.